The world is in possibly the biggest lockdown under the threat of a deadly virus, COVID 19, that has costed us too many precious lives. This global pandemic has allowed us to understand once again that in dark times like these, health is ultimately our biggest wealth. Every street and town has been shut down in fear and terror of the mutating virus that came swift and cold and destroyed more than just our economies, our social political structures, and most unfortunate, our families. Many international and national bodies have risen up and taken a leader's stand in creating a cure and saving as many lives as they can during this process. World Health Organization or WHO, originally formed for this objective, was one of them. The World Health Organization was created in 1948 to coordinate health affairs within the United Nations system. Its initial priorities were malaria, tuberculosis, venereal diseases, and other communicable diseases, plus women and children's health, nutrition, and sanitation. From the start, it worked with member countries to identify and address public health issues, support health research, and issue guidelines. It also classified diseases. In addition to governments, WHO coordinated with other UN agencies, donors, non governmental organizations or NGOs, and the private sector. Investigating and managing disease outbreaks was the responsibility of each individual country, although under the international health regulations, governments were expected to report cases of a few contagious diseases such as plague, cholera, and yellow fever.
World Health Organization WHO purposes. WHO's main function can be summed up as follows: to act as a directing and coordinating authority on international health work, to ensure valid and productivity technical cooperation, and to promote research. The objective of WHO is the attainment by all peoples of the highest possible level of health. Health, as defined in the WHO Constitution, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. In support of its main objective, the organization has a wide range of functions, including the following: to act as the directing and coordinating authority on international health work, to promote technical cooperation, to assist government upon request in strengthening health services, to furnish appropriate technical assistance and in emergencies necessary aid upon the request of acceptance of government, to stimulate and advance work on the prevention and to control of endemic, and other diseases, to promote in cooperation with other specialized agencies where necessary the improvement of nutrition, housing, sanitation, recreation, economic or working condition, and other aspects of environmental hygiene, to promote and coordinate biomedical and health services research, to promote improved standards of teaching and training in the health, medical, and related professions, to establish and stimulate the establishment of international standards for biologically, pharmaceutical, and similar products, and to standardize diagnostic procedures, to foster activities in the field of mental health, especially those activities affecting the harmony of human relation. WHO also purposes convention, agreements, and regulations, and makes recommendations about international nomenclature of diseases, causes of death, and public health practices. It develops, establishes, and promotes international standards concerning food and biological, pharmaceutical, and similar substances.
About the current standings of WHO, what WHO was doing before pandemic. WHO is responsible for coordinating international health efforts. It has undertaken reforms to improve the health of countries. It made strategies for the management of drug resistance tuberculosis. WHO underlined the importance of proper management of MDR-TB and outlined the priority actions to address the global MDR-TB crisis. Now, about the 5 strategies. WHO recommends 5 strategies that need to be implemented in order for health service delivery to become more people-centered and integrated. Health authorities are encouraged to select those policies and interventions that best fits their national subnational, or local needs to customize them to best match priorities, capabilities, and resources. The first strategy is engaging and empowering people. Engaging and empowering people is about providing the opportunities, skills, and resources that people need to be adequate and empowered users of health services. It is also about reaching the undeserved and marginalized group of population in order to guarantee universal access to service. This goal seeks to unlock the community and individual resources for action at all levels. It aims at empowering individuals to make effective decisions about their own health and enabling the communities to become actively engaged in co-producing healthy environments, providing self-services in partnership with health sector and other sectors contributing healthy public policy. Second strategy is strengthening governance and accountability. Strengthening governance and accountability involves improving policies dialogue as well as policies formulation and evaluation together with citizens, communities, and other stakeholders. It is about promoting transparency in decision making and generating robust system for collective accountability of policymakers, managers, providers, and users through aligning governance, accountability, and incentives. The third strategy is reorienting the model of care. Reorienting the model of care means ensuring that efficient and effective healthcare systems are purchased and provided through models of care that prioritize primary and community care services and that co-production of health. Encompasses the shift from inpatient to outpatient and ambulatory care. It requires investment in holistic and comprehensive care, including health, promotion, and ill health prevention strategies that support people's health and well being. It requires both gender and cultural sensitivity. Reorienting model of care is also about creating new opportunities for intersectoral actions at community level to address the social determinants of health and make the best use of scarce resources, including at times partnership with private sector. The fourth strategy is coordinating services. It involves coordinating care around the needs and the preferences of people at every level of care as well as promoting activities to integrate different healthcare providers and create effective networks between health and other sectors. Coordination does not necessarily require the merging of the different structures, services, or workflows, but rather focuses on improving the delivery of care through the element of harmonizing. The fourth strategy is coordinating services. It involves coordinating care around the needs and the preferences of people at every level of care as well as promoting activities to integrate different healthcare providers and create effective networks between health and other sectors. Coordination does not necessarily require the merging of different structures, service, or workflows, but rather it focuses on improving the delivery of care through alignment of harmonizing of the process of different services. The fifth strategy is creating an enabling environment. In order for the four previous strategies to become an operational reality, it is necessary to create an enabling environment that brings together the different stakeholders to undertake the transformational change. This is a complex task involving a diverse set of processes to bring about the necessary change in the legislative framework, financial arrangements and incentives, and the reorientations of the workforce and public health.
When great tragedy befalls us, it often comes as a bolt from the blue, something that nobody could predict, a terrible lack of luck, and evidence of how unpredictable fate can be and how helpless we are. But at other times, disaster can be all too predictable. Scientists from all around the world knew that the emergence of a previously unknown virus was not a matter of if, but when. Viruses that can jump species and infect humans are far from uncommon and far from new. Zoonotic, a term formed from the Greek zoon, animal, and nosis, sickness. Diseases have been around for millennia, from the Black Death to Ebola via various types of influenza. Of the many ways diseases can spread, respiratory pathogens are the hardest to manage because they spread aerially like cold or a flu. The scientific world, governments, and WHO or World Health Organization have spent millions preparing pandemic response plans. So, when a cluster of cases of an unusual flu was documented in Wuhan, China at the end of the year, experts from around the world immediately sounded the alarm bells. There was a familiar ring to the crisis. To the old hand on the news desk, a deadly virus emanating from a faraway place was a repeat story. Hadn't we done this before? Indeed, the SARS outbreak in 2002-4 was still fresh in the minds of people. The suspicion lingers that many countries in the West were complacent. By contrast, places within China, such as Hong Kong, and outside it, such as Singapore and Japan, which were directly impacted by SARS, had a strikingly different reaction to the possibility of another deadly virus wreaking havoc on the population and economy of their countries.
COVID times, WHO is issuing the COVID-19 Strategic Preparedness and Response Plan for 2021 and accompanying documents as a package aimed at guiding the coordinated action that we must take at national, regional, and global levels to overcome the ongoing challenges in the response to COVID-19, address inequities, and plot a course out of the pandemic. Over the past year, much has been achieved by national authorities and communities with support of WHO donors and partners, and an unprecedented effort by the scientific community and the private sector. The Strategic Preparedness and Response Plan 2021 builds on what we have learned about the virus in our collective response over the course of 2020 and translates that knowledge into strategic actions. This plan builds on achievements and also focuses on the new challenges to mitigate, for example, risks related to new variants. The plan also considers the road we need to travel towards the safe, equitable, and effective delivery of diagnostics and vaccines as part of the overall strategy to successfully tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. They, in accordance of this plan, have also maintained a record of varying situations in multiple countries and are offering regular and frequent situation reports by analyzing the current landscape of the given country. As leader of the Global Incident Management Support Team structure, the UN Crisis Management Team is working towards providing us with better future and saving as many lives as it can.